has an MBA qualification, Elizabeth goes and gets an MBA qualification. If Ruben is working at Center Majiri, I then go out and apply for Center Majiri. What we're failing to understand as young people in Kenya is that careers are lives, and our unique contribution to a business is what will change our perspective. So your career is definitely going to look a lot different from what your friend's career is going to look like. And everybody is on a unique career journey. So one of the things that we must do as young people is become conscious of what has changed within our environment and how can I begin to adapt my individual opportunities. And that's why I wanted to discuss the most in-demand skills of 2020 with you. So when we're talking about hard skills, we're talking about the things that require you to have knowledge in the area. So what a lot of you wouldn't know about me is I have a civil and construction engineering degree, just a little bit. And then those are my hard skills. I have project management background. Those are my hard skills. I have the ability to speak a second language. That is my hard skills. I have the ability to code and write Java. That is my hard skills. Now, those are the things to be able to be qualified for a job. And then the soft skills are the things like communication, flexibility, leadership, collaboration, and teamwork. So as you're going into 2020 and beginning to understand that the world of work has changed, the demands of businesses have changed. And now let me explain that very quickly using my personal example. When I joined the company, I was the head of business development. My job looked a little bit different from what it looks like right now. My responsibility was to go out and meet with clients, to have conversations with people. Now, what has happened is, as a salesperson, I am no longer invited to people. So now I have begun to adapt my skill set. So I am a strong project manager. I am a strong business development manager. I cannot continue to work my skills in the traditional way that I was doing them. So what have I done? I've begun to add remote skills opportunity to my portfolio. I am now doing virtual sales. So what I'm trying to do is this, and what I'm trying to explain to you is this. People are saying that there are absolutely no jobs in Kenya. There are no jobs because of COVID-19. COVID-19 makes it harder for us to have traditional employment, but there are opportunities. Business needs have changed. So where a traditional business would require a field sales rep, they now require a virtual sales rep. So does it mean that I can no longer work? No, it means that I need to go out and to start to learn new skills to adapt to the business market. And now we need to start looking at, as Kenyan youth, what are the hard skills and what are the soft skills that we have, and how do we align our competencies to business needs? Now, why this is important is because of this. The only reason you ever get hired, the only reason and put money in your hands is because you create value for them. Now, the needs of the companies have changed. That's what a lot of people don't understand. I get quite a number of resumes from young people every day, and they're like, hey, Elizabeth, I'd love to work for you as in your human resource company. I am a human resource manager. Now, my company, where we had 12 workers, we're now down to about 4 workers. Our human resource needs are not the same. So this person approaching me has failed to align themselves to what our business needs are. Had they come in and said, hey, I'm really good at sourcing, I can help you find new talent, then we would have had a place for them. Or another business challenge we're having is lead generation on LinkedIn. Our business needs more sales. We currently don't have enough salespeople. So if you come to me and you're like, hey, Elizabeth, here's my CV. I'd like to do your business development. And how are you going to do it? I'm going to go out to companies and meet with them. You are not aligned to our current business needs. Now, this is not unique to our company. If you're looking at a lot of the companies that had been set up here in Kenya, most of the foreign nationals have gone back home. So we have companies that have moved back to Canada as they wait to see what the economic effect of COVID-19 will be. Now that the country is a bit recovering and the first wave is completely done, it's about you finding opportunities that are aligned to what the market needs are and positioning your value. So you can be like, hey, Elizabeth, I am a computer software engineer. Good. What does my business need right now? Let me give a really funny example that I like to share about my mother. My mother has never ever, before COVID-19, shopped on glovo.com. So she always said, oh, those people are robbers, oh, those people are going to take your money, or those people are not going to help you. It doesn't work. But when COVID-19 hit, the traditional way of going to supermarkets to buy food absolutely changed. So our approach to how we're going to buy things changed. So for the first time, my mother, who is quite young, but she's part of Generation X, is now buying food online using an online transfer system. So if I was going to be a computer software engineer and I wanted to align myself to the market, I would go into UI, UX development. I would go into cloud computing. I would go into blockchain. I would go into business analysis and understanding what the needs were for those companies. Now, some of the job titles that we see that are going to come up, and we should as Kenyans begin to make a conscious effort in adapting our current skill sets so that we can augmented reality builders. Sales is not going to happen in the same way. With the quarantine saying, when you're coming in from China, you have to quarantine for 28 days. Businesses will not want to lose money on one person for over 28 days. So what they will need from you as a person is to build an augmented reality and position your product in such a way that people will understand them. Data detectives, we are using so much information that we need people who can actually detect when we're lying and when we're telling the truth. Drone pilots, Rwanda has programs where they're delivering food through drones. Sanitization specialists, business that is being done locally, but we need more and more people to come in. So back to your question, Ruben, yeah? You asked me this. How do you protect existing jobs and nurture an economic recovery that quickly produces new ones? First of all, in your place of work, you must adapt to the new reality. And then secondly, you must begin to get the new skill sets that are required by your business.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. That was a wonderful presentation. I'm very sure most of the participants have noted down and actually they are. And apologies, I just had to remove that participant because I could not mute them. They kept unmuting themselves, and there's a lot of background noise. Thank you, Elizabeth, again, and we will be coming back to you after we have heard from Ian and Brian. I can see some questions that have already been asked specifically for you. And there is some clarification that we'd also like to hear from you. So thank you. And as we come back to you, we'd like now to hear from the rest of the panelists. We'd like to hear now from Brian. Brian, as I introduced earlier, is the lead developer of Ajiri and also the ambassador of the Ajiri initiative. Brian has been the forefront of coming up with various digital platforms that have been actually helped so many young people be able to access various opportunities during this pandemic period. So now I would like Brian to help us understand how the jobs that Elizabeth has been talking about, the jobs and the opportunities and the skills that Elizabeth was taking us through, how can we ensure that these jobs are accessible to the youth population? Or rather, how can we make sure that these opportunities are in a way, or are in a package in a way that these young people can be able to access them and take advantage of the same? And that the recovery extends to small and medium businesses in emerging markets. I can see Brian is getting some difficulties in being able to join. Let me just make a quick call to him. Brian is joining us any second from now. He was having some difficulty with his laptop, but he has just told me within a second he will be joining us. So as I had said earlier, the guys who are joining us, kindly look at the chat button and type your questions there, or rather the clarification that you might need from the particular panelist. Make sure that your question is written there on the chat button. We will be able to see the same and forward the same to the panelists. And for the ones who joined us before we started, we have just heard from Elizabeth on how she shared on how the various opportunities will be open in future, how the restructuring that is going on is creating more modern opportunities, and how young people can actually build themselves to be able to fit into the new normal. We will be coming back to Elizabeth later on. So let's now hear from Brian. Brian, can you hear us now? Brian? Brian? Okay, I will move over to Ian meanwhile, as we wait for Brian to settle his issue on the other side. Let's go directly and hear from Ian, who is here with us. Ian is the CEO of Accelerate Lead, as I had introduced earlier. Accelerate Lead is a registered development social enterprise, and their mandate is to address the skills gap in higher education by connecting the industry sector with potential workforce trained with right skills to solve real world problems, or in this case, real pandemic challenges. So we now want to hear from Ian. Ian Kosgei, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you, Ruben. I think to add on to what you said, yes, I'm from Accelerate, and our mandate, our sole purpose was to bridge the gap between the skills in the marketplace and those that the university students graduate with. You know, we realize that the reason many people tarmac for a long period of time is because they do not exactly know what is expected of them. They come into the marketplace, the business world, only with the knowledge that they have acquired in the university, at the universities, which we realize is not enough for them to go forth. You know, it will take time for them to realize what is required, for them to adapt to the current changes that they needed. You know, as Elizabeth has said, there are very different needs that the organizations need from you. You know, the business needs are evolving. So we also need to help our students or graduates in that. Now, to come to the question, being Accelerate lead CEO, of course, I have worked with many partners. So I think I was the right person to tackle this question per se. Where we look at the partnerships between the private sector, public sector, so forth, in assisting our youth to go through this pandemic, not just our youth, as the country's economy, what we can do to soften the blow that is coming to us or that we are already experiencing. And I believe I found this question rather I say that for this case, as Elizabeth mentioned, we have had a number of cases like this, similar to this, but not exactly like this, because this is on the extremes, because not just economically. So a lot of things have changed, so this is in a way one of a kind, in that, even the best economies out there are yet to find a formula for it. And we obviously know that COVID-19 will be with us for a very long time. Germany, for instance, with its stellar performance, is also reporting a spike in infections, So we are going to go on a circle with this. We are going to have waves. This virus is very unpredictable. So it will take a combined effort of advanced science, incredible human ingenuity, God's grace, and so forth. So we cannot confront this pandemic just as lightly as we've done all other, pandemics, so to speak, that we've had before. This requires a lot more caution, extreme enlightenment. We can't just take half measures and believe that we will go through it. So it's a good thing we're doing this, because we need to connect the measures we're taking now and look at them whenever it happens, that we finally get rid of this pandemic. I don't think that humans will be able to go back to the way things were. I think that things will have changed. Businesses are evolving, things are being done more digitally, things like that. So there is no way we can go back to how things were, Humans have survived in this world for years and years because of our innovation, and we realize that humans are almost not limited at all, we adapt. And that is what is about to happen now. So I think as I'm speaking, you can clearly see that I'm saying the whole society, the society as a whole, needs to come together. This is one thing that cannot be dealt with by one sector, one part of society, we have innovative, broad-based partnerships between the private, public sector, which is the only way we are going to get impact or impactful solutions, than if every sector was to do their thing alone, The government has resources to, has the financial support that they can give to the private sector, who in turn will manage to get a way of getting in touch with this is a time where everyone needs to go hand in hand in dealing with this pandemic, show that we can't do this by just saying now we leave it to the government. You know, all the measures that they're put in place can only work if the private sector is working together with them, with the informal sector, with you know, things like that. You know, the government is offering fiscal stimuli, and trying to offer support to the informal sector. But of course, you know, the informal sector has always been, I could call it, shunned away. They're not really, let's say, in sync with the government. You know, the policies never affect them or help them out of their major problems that they normally face. So it is high time that we bridge that gap as well with the government. So you can find, you know, one thing that we might need to do is partner with the organizations, you know, to offer skills training, you know, for lack of a better word, where the youth, people have lost many jobs, you know. We can't go, and I don't think, you know, some of the companies have taken this opportunity to trim their businesses, to realize that maybe we do not need this this exact job at this time. So they decide to, you know, retrench people, and probably they will not get their job back. So such things will require people to think outside the box, look for business ideas, and this is where now we come up with the leeway from the government through the private sector into SMEs, you know, where the private sector and the public sector collaborate to, for instance, offer business development ideas, training, and provide youth these technical skills in order to give them the opportunities to help them, you know, and support financially, and also to help them develop a business at least for a year or so, you know, during this pandemic, to soften the path to a better business module, so to speak. Now, with these restraints that we're having, you know, the global supply chains have been disrupted. You could hear, we are hoping that maybe flights will start being on air soon enough. But we know people have suffered, you know, the tech world, so to speak, have felt this blow more than most. You know, things from China, for instance, importing them has become, you know, their factories have been shut down, and as an example. So, and many more things, of course, have been, we can't get these things that we were importing, you know, as easy as it was before. So it is high time that as Kenyans, because we have the capability to produce most of these things, you know, looking at the agricultural produce, for instance, I don't think we really require to import most of these things from, we can grow it. We are blessed with a beautiful country with, I think, 20% of the country is arable, you know, so, which is poorly managed. So I think with this chance that we've been given, we can actually grow our businesses, grow our agricultural input, you know, but we need to support it as Kenyans ourselves, You know, the president was talking about this Buy Kenya, Build Kenya initiative, which has been there since 2017, I believe, 2017, 2016. But now it is high time that we go back to it and look at it in all seriousness, because this is when people's buying power, you know, domestic consumption is reducing, you know. It is affecting everyone's economical purchase power, so to speak. So there is no way now we can have expensive goods coming into the market when we can produce things that are cheaper. Big production costs going into it are cheaper. Therefore, they will definitely be at a lower price. But instead, you know, we as Kenyans, I think pride also goes a long way in our decision making. I think people believe that I'd rather buy, I don't know, the pride and social opinion does a lot to every decision making, to everyone's decision making. So I think it's high time we look at the Kenyan produce and realize that we have to embrace it if we can go forward. It's the only way we can go forward, you know. People need to get incentives to also manufacture their own goods, you know, build their own I'm being told that I am taking a bit more time than I should have. So I think I'll just quickly go through the rest of the points. I have mentioned the informal sector as well, and the agricultural, I was speaking about it as we went on. You know, we need to think about how we can get technologically driven local markets, you know, food access points and processed goods, you know, and give people incentives to farm, because agriculture is one of the major one of our major economical sorry, 1 second. I'm sorry. So yes, as I was saying, agriculture boosts our economy greatly. So we need to stop. I think our generation, the youth, have forgotten that the agricultural sector is the one that feeds our country. So we need to romanticize it, let people know that this is what is required, because we're about to also go into a food shortage, you know, with low produce, with the locusts happening just before, and the long rainy season, you know, so our food security is at risk. And lastly, we need innovation. You know, the only way we can get through this is innovation. Innovation is innovation, I will say again. The youth, we've been taking advantage of living in a world where, you know, most of these things are there for us. We don't live in the worlds of the Wright brothers where there were no planes, you know, they had to find a way to go long distances to other places, you know. So science and advancement in technology right now is where we need to cement our presence in providing solutions to modern challenges to human development. So we need to rise up. We need to help. We need to come up with these ideas, bring them out. You know, there are platforms for such things. There's, I think there's currently an ongoing competition. It's called a food services virus, where people, all youth, are welcome to bring out their ideas, technological or otherwise, you know, and they will get government support to grow their businesses and so on. So innovation is the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ian. We are really pleased to hear from you and you sharing your experience about partnerships and how various sectors have come together to actually devise holistic solutions towards the various challenges that young people are experiencing. We will still come back to you with clarifications and questions that are coming from the participants. I can see many of them are down here. And before we come back to you, I would like now to go directly to Brian, who is now joined us right now. He was experiencing some challenges with his technical challenges, but now he has been able to join us. Brian, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you clear.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, we can hear you on our side very clear. Currently now, you'll be able to take us through the jobs and opportunities that Elizabeth has been sharing with us and Ian has shared with us. How can we ensure that they are accessible to this young population, and also what are the recovery extents that what are the recovery efforts that do extend to small and medium businesses in emerging markets? So over to you, Brian.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mube, and also thank you very much for each and every person that was participated in the organization of this meeting, and also for all the participants who are attending. Thank you very much for giving us your time. And I will quickly go through the question. The first question was, can we ensure that jobs are accessible to the youth, to the young population, especially during this time that we are recovering from the COVID-19? And I think number one should be organization will need to use accessible platforms to advertise, because I think previously our advertisement within our institutions have happened. Most of the time they like giving a recommendation, or rather giving, sorry about that. Most of the organization, most of the time, previously what they have done, in case they have opportunities, they like advertising first internally, and you'll find that most of the beneficiaries who benefit from this, just hold on. You'll find that most of the beneficiaries that benefit for these new opportunities are either the employees of that given organization or that organization. And secondly, so now if we increase the advertisement, especially through the social media platforms, and where now the youth, because you will find most of the youth that are spending most of their time again on social media, because at least this is where they get motivation and they get time to be connected. I believe organizations sharing these opportunities where the youth are spending most of the time, that will give the youth an opportunity to realize that there are already opportunities, and again they will be able to apply for these opportunities, and in case they need any form of training or any form of professional skills that they may require, again it will also encourage them to be able to equip themselves with the skills that they need at the moment. And also, organization will need to protect jobs during the restructure. I think they need to set aside jobs that are known for example, the specific jobs to be set aside for the youth. For example, jobs like what involves marketing and such other jobs, which requires maximum energy and just the right attitude. I believe these are such opportunities should be given again to the youth, just to make sure that through that they are able to learn. Because if you are given, for example, an opportunity to market a product or a given organization, again, it gives you the room to be able to learn more about that given organization, and also in terms of learning about the product. And that way you can be able also to be maybe encouraged to, you know, to be promoted and such on. So again, the question comes, yes, the opportunities might be scarce, or rather the opportunities maybe also might be available for the youth, but what do the youth need to do at this time just to make sure that whenever an opportunity comes, they are ready for it? Because for you to be able to benefit from any opportunity, again, you need to be able to, the opportunity needs to find you at the right time, the right place at the right time, and with the right skills. Because once it finds you with not having equipped yourself with the right skills, again, that can be a lost opportunity. So what do the young people need to do in exchange? So number one is to seek for the right skills. And these right skills, number one is character. Even before the skill, actually, my first point should be working on your character. Because we are, with the changing times, we have so many people who we've met and we've seen so many, and also I believe other people are our friends, or we've seen them in our places of work. Like you can find a youth with very nice, you know, skills and having the right competency, but just the character aspect is what that makes the youth not to be considered, the young person not to be considered in case of any opportunity. So number one is working on your character, because character supersedes all the skills. Then again, you have to equip yourself with the human skills, such as soft skills, such as communication, grooming yourself, relating to people. Just make sure those basic human skills, you are conversant and well equipped with them. Then again, we have now the business enabler skills, which again, in the employment sector, it cannot be shunned. You can never run away from that. So you have to, the youth need to see what the employers are, especially in the field where they're interested in. What are the employers looking for at that given time? And on top of that, be able to equip themselves with the right skill. Then also we have the digital building skills. I think, the digital block skills. I think you found out that most of the employers and most of the people now we have at the moment, they're spending most of their time online. That means also how you present yourself over your digital platforms also comes as an adding value, and also encourage most of the youth to also be able to join valuable social media platforms such as the LinkedIn, where they are able to connect with their peers, with their mentors, and learn at least a couple more things. Number two is to commit to online job search, because again, now we have limited movement and interaction between people to people, or we are not able to move freely anymore as we used to. So I think the youth should commit themselves in searching opportunities online, and just be able to send as many applications as possible. I know at times it might be very much discouraging sending application and not receiving feedback from this organization, but always keep the right attitude and the right mentality, just to make sure that you are able to get that job until you get the job that you're looking for. So again, number three is digital learning, online learning, which again is, for example, in Nigeria, we launched the Learn with Ajiri. That is the African first mass online open source learning platform. So we have so many of these other learning platforms where you are able to access materials online and be able to get certification. So again, the youth should be able to commit their time and dedicate also their time to learning online, and also put good use of their access to internet. Once you have access to the internet, at least put good use to it, make sure that it's adding value to your life. And in this, we'll say flexibility again is the name of the game. I believe before, initially, people used to go to universities, and at least there you have to meet people others who will encourage you. You know, you'll just hear someone out, they carry themselves, and maybe you remain motivated in terms of carrying out out your studies. But now that we are all limited to movement, that we are not able again to be able to interact, so we have to always to be flexible. Just find something that is motivating you, and just make sure that you stay enlightened in appraising yourself from the readily available resources that we have online, and also make learning a habit for every day. And I'll give you guys as a personal example. Personally, at least I try my best to read either 2 to 3 books every month. And I just don't just read, but most of the reading that I do is guided by the challenges that I'm facing in that specific season. Is it work related? Is it socially related? Depending on the lesson and the challenges that you find materials that are relating to that specific challenge that or that assignment that you have at the moment. And also always evaluate yourself. This can be done either weekly, monthly, or even quarterly, or even yearly. Always make sure that you evaluate yourself. You ask yourself, what have you been able to learn during this week? What have you been able to learn during this month? Or even the entire year, what have you been able to add in your life? At least make sure as time goes on, every time you add something new in your life, because again, that is what will build up your CV. And then also digital learning and its social features. So again, involve yourself in digital learning. I think I think I've spoken more about that, so I wouldn't want to repeat myself again. And then again, lastly is now resilience. Have a resilient mentality and be always psychologically fit. Never give up, because personally I'll share a personal story as I get to the end of my presentation. I think the last I graduated in November 2016, and the entire 2017 I stayed out without an internship or any opportunity where I could be able to continue growing my skills that I'd acquired from the university. But it's all about keeping the right mentality, keeping the right keeping a positive mind towards working that. And I believe even since 2016 I graduated, I first got my first opportunity in January 2018. That's when I first got my first internship. So again, you have to be resilient. You have never give up. Just know that you have the right mentality, and know that the opportunities are everywhere. Only that, make sure that once an opportunity is coming again, you just have the right, you just have, it finds you with the right skills and the right attitude. So lastly is about my thought on how the SME recovery measures and sustainable. I think in terms of the SMEs on the recovery measures that they are taking charge during this time, I think we've seen a couple of donations. Actually, yesterday I was reading that the government of the US, that is Donald Trump, was able to send to Kenya 5 million donation just to, and part of that money, I think 2.5 was going to help small market and startups and also SMEs to be able to remain performing during this time of the COVID-19 times. So again, so the recovery measures is again for SMEs. My advice will be minimize on your expenditure. They need to also minimize on their expenditure and be able to outsource skills when need arises. If you don't need, maybe for example, you don't need someone to do maybe marketing for you all through, what you can be able to do, maybe just hire them when you need their service, and don't shun away from keeping people. And again, that will also be able to give an opportunity even to the youth to be able to access these opportunities once they arise. So I think that is my advice on the SMEs. And back to you, Mbove.
Thank you, Brian, for sharing with us all that information. I'm very sure the participants here are so happy to hear from you, and they have gotten a lot that they have actually noted down. Now, they will come back to you with questions and maybe clarifications from what you have just shared. But before we come back to you, Ian, I would just like to go directly to the Q&A session. We need to have the questions directed to my panelists. I will go first before I check the questions that have been written down here by the participants. I will go first, and I would like to come back to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, you shared about how that an organization will actually give you a job because you are creating a value. And also you shared that the needs of these organizations have actually changed. Now, if I would like to just relate that with the current period that we have, the pandemic period, most of the organization needs have now changed to restructuring in terms of digital or virtual kind of services and products. And I would just like to give a view here. An organization like Shopify and Twitter and many other tech giants have actually already allowed their employees to permanently work from home. UBS, one of the largest investment banks, is also said to allow a third of its 70,000 employees to work remotely. LinkedIn has also confirmed that views of or rather job searches when it comes to remote jobs has increased by 189%. Now, Elizabeth, what kind of value do you think people working from home can create? And do you think actually organizations, while they are restructuring, they are going to consider the value that these people can offer from wherever they are or from remote offices? What can you say about this, Elizabeth?
I have a similar question that is coming from member Daniel as well on the comment section. And he's asking, what advice pertaining to job opportunities can you give, considering that a lot of companies are letting go of people? Now, let me make it very, very clear. Our company, Just Work, did help a company recently with over 60 people redundancies that were made. So 60 people were fired from one company. But in the exact same company, we had 20 requisitions that took place. So what happened? The people who did not have the right competencies when the company strategy changed were let go. But those who had the right competencies when the company strategy was now changing was brought in. So some of the titles we were hiring for in the month of June was technical lead, UI UX developer, blockchain manager, data harvester, genome proprietor. So again, moving, you have to realize there are opportunities that have come in. I'd like to use my personal career experience and tell you a little bit about my journey so you can understand why I am in the career space and why I'm passionate about this. When I first joined the university, I started my own magazine. It was called Campus Vibe. And I don't know how many of you have heard about Campus Vibe. In the university at the time, we didn't have Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. So a lot of companies that were looking to talk to universities in Eldoret, in Moi, in Nakuru, didn't have a way of reaching students. So me and my friends put together a magazine. And I remember being in Eldoret University at about 11 p.m. at night, getting rained on, selling this magazine that had adverts that had been placed by companies like Coca-Cola, the safety health organizations, I think PSI Kenya at the time. And then comes I think that was 2013, I now joined ISET Kenya as president and then became the lead business developer and started to travel around the world. At the same time, in 2017, I then graduated with my degree in civil and construction engineering. I worked as a site engineer for 2 years. And then when I left that job, because my contract ended, I was unemployed. So I found work in a recruitment firm. When I first started, I came in asking for a volunteer opportunity. I volunteered myself for the first 3 months without a salary until they knew what my ability was when it comes to talking to people, when it comes to selling myself. So the conversation is this: the market has changed. And now just to reinforce that just a little more, one last time, is when COVID first hit in March of 2020, our company, in order to survive, most of us had to take about a 70% salary cut. So because my bills remained the same, the landlord was still asking for the same amount of money, the housekeeper was still asking for the same amount of money, it means that I had to find other sources of income. So what I did very cleverly is I started to look at jobs on Upwork.com. Upwork functions the same way that Ajiri functions. A couple of slight differences because Ajiri is tailored to the local market, but Upwork had companies in Australia. So where I was working my normal job from 8 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock Kenyan time, I would then go and work on my Australian job between 9 p.m., which is the 8 o'clock of Australia, all the way to 6 a.m. of Kenya, which was 6 p.m. of Australia. So when working for Upwork, I made about $5,000 over the last 3 months. The second way I was able to increase my income was go on, it's called medium.com. And it's a place where you can begin to write content and ideas. I noticed on the website, they were asking for writers and content developers and people to talk about business in Africa. So what did I do? When I was in school, I didn't just learn about engineering principles. Because of going out of my way and starting my own magazine, I understood business principles. Do not take all your experiences and only consider your formal experience. Think about your competencies and skill set in totality. And then when you go into business, align yourself to them and adapt to the market. What you must be aware of is you're not going to get the contracts that your fathers and mothers got. My dad was hired by a company. He worked in the same company for 35 years and then retired at the end of that company. He had a pension and he had health allowances and things of that nature. Now, for me, I'm working on a contract. I work on a 2-year contract. I work on online contracts. The gig economy is where a lot of us are going. And you can make a lot more money on social platforms. You can make a lot more money on online platforms. What Ajiri is trying to do is what the Bangladesh market has already done. Bangladesh, when the bubble hit and they lost a lot of their employees, they went online. So you had young Bangladeshi youth offering technology and services. And Would You Like Just Work has an online portfolio. We need young people to offer their technical skills to need to understand even the time that you're spending on TikTok, even the time that you're spending on LinkedIn is an opportunity for you to learn a new skill set. And you can start posting on companies. You can go, hey, Minito, I'm seeing that you guys don't have an online social channels. I can manage that for you. I can increase market value by give me some sort of contract. So don't look at what has happened in this business, what are the skills that they need, what can I do with over 20 years of education? And education is not just what you learned in class. It's what you learn by exploring, by gaining your experiences. Have I answered that for you, Ruben?
Elizabeth, I think we lost you a bit.
Okay. Where did you lose me?
Yeah, the last part, I think we lost you a bit. Some of us did not actually hear what you said. The last part.
Okay. If somebody in the audience can help me with where you lost me. But the all in all I'm saying is, Ruben,
yes,
there are so many opportunities. There are so many opportunities. Learning development platforms. Why have you thought about the children in the village? I heard somebody say they're from Kisumu, they're from Nakuru. How many kids are not having access to schools right now because the teachers don't have laptops? You see, every time there's a problem, you can offer a solution. But the fact that you're able to join this meeting and you have internet access, the skill set that you can actually go into the government, you can go into schools and begin to offer them learning opportunities and reskill yourself. I think that's the last bit of what I was saying.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. And just on that part of the skills that most of these people need, I would just like on how we can twist it and fit into the current period where people are working remotely. Where some of these people, you find that they have what you call traditional jobs. You have people who are making sales. We have marketing specialists. We have actually people who are manning offices like administrators. What skills do they actually need so that now they can fit into the current kind of restructuring, which is moving from the traditional way of doing things now to the modern way of actually doing things through virtual ways? What are these skills that now the traditional jobs that they are holding, they can now add the current skills that you had shared before? And I would like you actually to go ahead and share your screen. There's a part where now you have given the questions. I think you are able to share the screen. There's a part I want just to share with the participants. There's a part down there where you shared yes, I think this is it. Thank you. This job, no.
All right. I can explain the screen and this slide if you want me to. I'm a career advisor by accident. So when I talk to somebody about their career, I tell them, think about 1, 3, 5. 1 year from today, 2021, how old am I? I'm 30 years old. 1 year from 3 years from today, that's 2023, how old am I? I'll be 32. 5 years from today, how old am I? And then I start to look at it financially. What are some of my goals? And then personally, what are some of my goals? And then professionally, what are some of my goals? Now you've asked me, in a traditional career, how can I update that and ensure that I'm relevant even 5 years from today? I am a civil engineer. I love construction and I love building. If I was still in the field of engineering, I would ask myself, in 5 years, where do I see the industry going? I think augmented reality is going to be a huge part, because how we're building, we want to reduce the amount of cost when it comes to building. So augmented reality will allow us to design and foolproof a construction project and reduce the cost in it even before we get on site, eliminating some of the risks, eliminating any loss of life, any loss of money, and ensuring we have more efficient systems. So what do I do right now? Like Brian mentioned, I'll go on Coursera, I'll go on the Agile learning platform, and I'll start to learn about project management. I'll start to learn about augmented reality. I'll start to learn about BIM design. So it's about, I can't just sit in my house and say I am the best engineer, yet in 5 years, my skill set becomes irrelevant. So as Kenyans, the challenge is this: don't be afraid. Brian is saying, hey, go out and read 2 books. Go out and start teaching yourself. The university dean said, you have the power to read. A lot of the mistakes, and this is what I started by mentioning, Kenyans make the mistake of creating a career that looks like your friend. No, you have to create a career that fulfills your ambition, fulfills your vision of yourself, and keeps you competitive and ongoing. By having modern skills, you will be the market leader, you will be the career driver. So what job do you love to do? If I love to spend every day on TikTok, I am going to be the best social media strategist for any company looking to embed TikTok as a technology on their company. What am I good at? I am a fantastic speaker. I've seen that a lot of companies are looking for people to teach and to learn about their business. So what do? I'll start going on Zoom platforms and start teaching people on what to do and offer training solutions. What can I be paid for right now? And what are companies willing to pay for right now? For you, you have to understand, for me to remove money from my business and give it to you, you must ensure that I can get more money into my business because of what you do. So what jobs can you get right now? Anybody who can design. I know a couple of you have backgrounds in computer science. Update your skill set, learn more languages, be on Flutterware, be on JavaScript IS, improve your coding languages. That is what will pay you right now. How do you improve on your future hustle? Before you go and ask for a job, because we don't like saying no. Before you ask us for a job, create a value for why we should hire you. You see, Kenyans come in now, Oshe, please hire me, and then we negotiate you down. So maybe where you were expecting a salary of $2,000, we will only offer you $500. And that's because you've not really presented what your value is. So don't come to us, Oshe, please help me, I need a job. No, hey, Elizabeth, I can guarantee that your business will have 30% growth if I embed social media strategies into your company. I am willing to pay for more money coming into my business. And now I didn't type in this correctly. It's what does the business need? If I was to look at Ajiri and I've looked at the platform, let me tell you this. I have never walked into an interview where I had not researched every single person in that interview room and they had not proven the skill that they needed me to improve. So if they needed me to be a trainer, before I enter that room, I have demonstrated that I can train on the program. So it's beginning to understand, what does a business need? What are my skill sets? And how do I align and position? And CVs are outdated and irrelevant. It's about networking, and your network becomes your net worth by really aligning your value and what you can do for people.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I was actually loving how you are putting it point blank, but before actually people asking for jobs, they need to show they actually can offer value to these organizations. Now, there's another question that is directed to you, but before we come back to you, I would just like to move to Ian. Ian, you are still here with us, right? You can hear us. Ian, I have a question here that is directed to you. You were talking about partnership and how various sectors need to come together and actually come up with solutions that are going to be more impactful than if one sector was to go on it alone. And when you look at the current period that we have, this pandemic, there are organizations that are already that are responding to the pandemic on their own. But now, if you come to you, what do you think is one single, just share has one single solution that the various sectors should have already actually devised now and that actually need to be up and running? Which is this one single solution that various sectors, that is public development sector and private sector, need to have already done at this current period? What is this solution, Ian Kosgei? Ian?
Yes, thank you. We need to look at, because people are losing many jobs, yes?
Yes.
We need to look at new employment opportunities, yes? So I was looking at the partnership, AMSCO, African Management Service Company, did with KCB, you know? They offered business development platforms, services. It was called, I think, 2G Ajiri. Yeah. They offered youth technical skills and training opportunities to help them grow micro enterprises, you know, and give them financial support, business development support for about a year. So I think that's the way to go for now, because things have changed, you know. The companies are trimming down, you know. Some things have become redundant in the companies. You know, with this people working from home and all, it will take a bit of readjustment from everyone. So I think people need to also look at self-employment, which in turn creates jobs, you know. These micro enterprises do grow and they create other jobs, you know, through them. So I think that's the most important thing that all sectors should come together to do as of now.
Thank you, Ian.
Yeah.
There was another question that was actually directed to you. I think I actually bypassed it. I will still come back to that question when the moment I see it. I don't know. I think I missed it somewhere. Before I come to that question, I would like also to hear, there is somebody who has actually inboxed me, Brian. I think maybe hawakutaka kuuliza hapa kwa umma. They asked, you talked about books. You said that you do read 2 to 3 books a week. And actually, you also talked about character. That is very important before we actually talk about skills. Now, somebody is asking in my inbox, what is a book that they can read about character that actually maybe you read and it helped you in making, when it comes to your personal character? What is this book that they can read? But before, Brian, you answer that question, I would like to take you back to something that you also mentioned before. You talked about the various skills that organizations are currently looking. When you look at these organizations, they are advertising, they actually specify the kind of skills that they are looking for. And also Elizabeth mentioned some of these skills when it comes to digital skills, when it comes to blockchain, when it comes to some of these, what they call 21st century kind of skills. But when you look at the graduates that we have currently, that we are churning out from our universities to the market, there's a big gap between.
My brother, can you hear me, my brother?
Sorry,
My
somebody.
mic work.
There's a big
I'm just
gap.
testing if my mic was working. Is it working, my brother?
Okay, Mike, we can hear you. Thank you for testing your microphone, but I have muted you. Now, I was saying there's a gap between the kind of graduates that we are churning, the skills that we currently have.
So yes, my brother. Do you know the way? Do you know the way, my brother?
Let me just.
What do I call you? I call you a nigger? Do you know?
Unfortunately, I had to remove him. Yes, Brian, I was saying these skills, most of them graduates do not have. The 21st century skill. What should we do to make sure that the skills that they are getting in the university, they are the ones that are needed in the market? Or rather, how do we make sure that the education that we have in the university, it is market driven, to make sure that we are connecting the graduates with what is needed in the market? Brian? Brian?
As we wait for Brian, you see, with the interruptions we've had the whole meeting, first there was a pornographic lady, then there was a music player, and now the Nigerian. This is part of data management and data detectives and security protocols. These are the skill sets that we need more young people to have in terms of offering protections on platforms like this.
Yes, that is true, and I'm very sure each and everyone has heard that. That is true. We are getting a lot of when you hold these kind of webinars and meetings, you have realized that actually most young people do not still have what we call the digital skills that we are looking for when we are talking about digital skills. This is part of the digital skills that we are talking about. Thank you for sharing that, Elizabeth. Thank you for pointing that out. Yes, Brian, did you hear the question? We cannot hear you, Brian.
Hello. Hello.
Brian, can you hear us? Unfortunately, we cannot hear you. I don't know what happened to your mic. Currently. As Brian tries to solve his technical issue, I'll come to Ian. Ian, the question that I said I will come back to it, kindly look at the question that one of the participants asked is, right now, we have already been experiencing what we call the unemployment challenge. We have currently in this country, for example, we have around 750,000 graduates, including the ones in vocational and colleges, graduating each and every year. Unfortunately, the government is only able to provide, or rather to create around 250,000 opportunities. That is around less than 25% of the graduates that we are churning out each and every year. What can be done by these sectors that we are talking about, that is public sector, private sector, and development sector, to make sure that this gap is addressed? Ian?
Me. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
we can hear you, Ian. Go ahead.
Right. Your question was that you're asking what you were breaking up a bit, so.
Yes, I said
Uh-huh.
right now we have around 750 graduates each and
Yes.
every year that are coming to the market, that is in Kenya alone. So you find that the government is only able to create around 250,000 opportunity. That is less than 20% of the graduates that we are churning out. So what can be done by these various sectors, these three main sectors, what can be done to make sure that this gap is addressed?
Right. What I've been trying to say is, yes, the mandate falls on the government and the private sector, but at the same time, we also do need to look at the fact that new jobs are not necessarily being created every day, you know.
Yes.
And then now more than ever, we need to step up as the youth and create our own jobs. You know, we can't just keep relying on employment opportunities. And I know people have gone and gotten the degrees. You know, I also did law, you know, but I think much of what I have done has not really involved the law a lot, you know.
Yes.
And that is what I'm saying. You need to evolve with the current marketplace. The government does create jobs, and it's still trying to create employment opportunities, more so in the informal sector. And I think that is why people also need to look at how they can grow their own businesses, how they can. I think the universities also need to change their way of teaching people, you know, to adapt to the current situations. The jobs are saturated. You know, Elizabeth gave an example of her dad who worked in one company from, you know, the time he got his contracts to when he retired. And that is what we're dealing with. You know, the people are already working there. So the government does have they can only do so much. At the same time, the private sector as well. We see them trying to adapt, but the mandate is on us to show them what they need, you know. As again was being said, you look at social media influencers, you know, you need to come up and show what you bring to the company, you know, as yourself. We are the ones to create the jobs now. The mandate is on us. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brian. I can see Elizabeth, like she has something to say on that. But before she says something, wow, Brian, have you been able to connect? Brian? I'm not sure whether Brian has been able to connect, and because I can't see another question from the participants, I will just move to the last question that I will just like the panelists to touch on. Each and every one of you, just 30 minutes, like a parting shot, but before we come to the parting shot, just like 30 seconds of this kind of question. Now, we are talking about remote jobs. We are talking about 21st modern, 21st century skills that are needed by the various kind of employers. But there is this question of, because right now, many organizations need to restructure to actually be able to bring in what you call now remote opportunities. What are these remote opportunities that you think are going to be created by restructuring? What because I think this is an opportunity, although we are facing a challenge, we are facing a pandemic, but this is an opportunity that is going to actually come out. There are so many virtual and so many remote opportunities that are going to be created by the restructuring that is coming around. So what are some of these remote jobs and these remote opportunities that we are looking forward to open? I will start with Brian. Brian, have you been able to connect? I don't think so. Ian? Ian?
I think Brian is saying unmute him.
I have tried that, but I don't think it. Brian, can you hear us? I think there's an issue.
You have been unmuted, Brian.
Yeah, but we still cannot hear him. I think there's an issue on his side. So, Ian?
We're looking at technological innovations right now, and new, there's data management, there's social media marketing, such things. That is what I think people need to get a hold on, Blockchain, I think very soon blockchain is going to take over much of every process, government and otherwise. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ian. I'm very sure the participants are noting down some of these opportunities that will be opening up. Yes, Elizabeth, what do you think?
Let me quickly share my screen because I know we are over time. But as there's a question I've seen there is, how will I learn and how will I build my skills? So first, there's join Learn with Ajiri, where you can actually build up a course. And I don't know whether they have a payment model to those who are creating courses, but you can do a lot of learning even on local platforms. And this project is in Kenya and it is running. You have Ajiri, my hustle section of the website. You can actually build up and create opportunities for yourself and find job opportunities on the website. Another thing that you can do is YouTube. I'm seeing a lot more YouTube content creators and people who are educated on YouTube. Udemy has so many learning categories. You can learn about whatever you'd like to learn. I think there's an availability right now. And online degrees are now more acceptable. You can get your MBA online. You can get your UIX. You can get your blockchain online. You can get your social media strategy online. What I think the idea is, don't be scared about learning new opportunities. And then for myself, when it comes to looking for jobs, my skills and my area of expertise is on LinkedIn lead generation and LinkedIn B2B job opportunities for young people. So if you ever need help, just reach out to me. We can set up a conversation and I will train you on how you can find new opportunities and realign yourself to a business. So there are so many opportunities. There's Upwork.com, there's Ajiri, there's Udemy, there's Coursera. It's just really you taking a personal responsibility and understanding that gone are the days of long permanent contracts. Here come the 3-month contract, the 6-month contract, the 2-year contract. How do you skill yourself, align yourself to a business, and then find opportunity?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Elizabeth, for sharing all those opportunities with the participants. I'm very sure they are noting them down. And because Brian has not been able to actually connect, it's unfortunate. Now, I will just like to share with the participants the last part of it. Right now, we have shared about the skills that will be needed. We have shared about what actually you need to be doing to make sure that when these opportunities are opening up, you are fit to actually be able to fit into these opportunities. I will be sharing later on after this, I will be sharing the link to the YouTube webinar recorded, and I will also be sharing with you the handles and the contacts of the panelists so that you can be able to contact them when you need some of the information that they shared that you need more. Like for example, LinkedIn optimization, you can always speak to Elizabeth. When it comes to how you can have your organization partner the government or rather the government agencies, you can always speak to Ian. When it comes to digital or rather digital platforms and how you can digitalize your organization, you can always speak to Brian. I'll share their contacts and also I'll share the recorded webinar for that you can be able to share with your networks. Now, being the last part of it all, we want to thank you. I want to take this opportunity on behalf of Numera Consultancies. I want to thank you, the panelists. I want to thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. And also for turning the conversation from during pandemic to actually for us to be able to talk about how to fit in, how to be resilient, how to adapt, how to be able to think creatively and also innovate during this challenging time. Thank you, Ian, for joining us. We thank you on behalf of Accelerate, and also Brian, thank you very much, and all the participants, thank you for joining us. Till the next time, the fifth session of the ImpactX webinar series. We wish you a nice time, and always feel free to reach out either through email or through calls. Always feel free to reach out if you need more information on the topic that we have just tackled. Is there anyone who wants to say something? The panelists, anything that you might want to say before we finish up? All right, thank you. Thank you very much to each and every one of you. This brings us to the end of the session.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you very much, Ruben.